Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into a topic that is both fascinating and, let's be honest, a little unsettling: cannibalism. But we're not just going to talk about the sensationalized stories. We're going to break down the science, the terminology, and the different forms it takes across the natural world, including in human history. So let's get started. When you hear the word cannibalism, what comes to mind? Probably a human eating another human. And you're right. That's called anthropology, but the term cannibalism is much broader. At its core, cannibalism is simply the act of an individual of one species consuming all or part of another individual of the same species. It's a surprisingly common strategy in the animal kingdom, seen in over 1,500 species, from insects to fish to mammals. Let's start with the big one: anthropology. This is the specific term for human cannibalism. It's a behavior that has appeared in various cultures throughout history for a multitude of reasons. Scientists and historians often categorize it into several types. First, there's survival cannibalism. This is probably the most understandable form. Imagine being stranded with no food source, like the infamous Donner Party or the survivors of the 1972 Andes flight disaster. In these extreme life-or-death situations, people have resorted to consuming the deceased to stay alive. It's a grim choice, driven by the most basic instinct for survival. Then we have endocannibalism. This is the practice of eating individuals from your own community, often as part of a ritual. A well-documented example is the Four People of New Guinea. They practiced a form of funerary cannibalism where they would consume parts of their deceased relatives. This wasn't about hunger. It was an act of love and mourning, a way to incorporate the essence and spirit of the loved one into their own bodies, ensuring a kind of spiritual continuity. Unfortunately, this practice led to the spread of a fatal brain disease called kuru, which we'll touch on later. The opposite of endocannibalism is exocannibalism. This is the consumption of outsiders, enemies, or strangers. Unlike the mourning ritual of the four, exocannibalism is often associated with warfare, aggression, and intimidation. It could be a way to celebrate a victory, to absorb the enemy's strength, or to strike terror into the hearts of other rivals. Historically, this has been reported among various groups around the world, from the Tupinamba of Brazil to some tribes in the Pacific Islands. It's a display of ultimate dominance over a foe. There's also medicinal cannibalism. For centuries in Europe, from Roman times up until the 18th century, a practice known as corpse medicine was widespread. People would consume preparations made from human bodies, like ground-up skulls, blood, or body fat, believing they held curative properties. It was thought that drinking the blood of a healthy young person could cure epilepsy, or that mummy powder, called mumia, could treat a range of ailments. It's strange to think that what we'd consider horrifying today was once considered mainstream medicine. Now let's zoom out from humans and look at the broader animal kingdom. Here, the motivations for cannibalism are usually less complex and more about direct biological advantage. One common form is sexual cannibalism. The female praying mantis is the classic example. After or even during mating, she sometimes consumes the male. Why? It provides her with a nutrient-rich meal, right when she needs it most for developing her eggs. The male, in a way, makes the ultimate parental investment, ensuring his genes are passed on by providing resources for his offspring. Black widow spiders are another famous example. Then there's size-structured cannibalism. This is incredibly common, especially in fish and amphibians. It's simple. Bigger individuals eat smaller individuals of their own species. For a large pike or a tiger salamander, a smaller member of its own kind is just another food source. It's a convenient, high-protein meal that also has the added benefit of eliminating a future competitor for resources. It's a brutal but effective strategy in environments where food can be scarce. Another form is filial cannibalism, which is when a parent eats their own offspring. This might sound like the worst parenting imaginable, but from a biological perspective it can make sense. Sometimes a parent might consume some of their young to regain energy to care for the remaining ones, especially if the brood is too large to support. In other cases, they might eat sick or weak offspring to cut their losses and reinvest their energy into healthier ones who have a better chance of survival. Many fish species like sand gobies practice this. Intrauterine cannibalism is even more extreme. This happens inside the womb before birth. In some species of sharks, like the sand tiger shark, the most developed embryos will actually eat their smaller, less developed siblings while still in the uterus. Only the strongest 1 or 2 pups are born from each litter. This ensures that the offspring that do emerge are strong, well-fed, and ready to face the world. It's a literal survival of the fittest before they even take their first breath. So, why isn't cannibalism more common? Well, it carries significant risks. The biggest one is disease transmission. Pathogens like viruses, bacteria, and prions are often highly adapted to a specific host species. Eating a member of your own species is like opening a direct highway for these diseases to spread. This brings us back to the 4 people and Kuru. Kuru is a prion disease, similar to mad cow disease. Prions are misfolded proteins that cause other proteins in the brain to misfold, leading to a fatal, degenerative neurological illness. The disease spread through the 4 community because they were consuming the brains of infected individuals as part of their funeral rites. When the practice was stopped, Kuru virtually disappeared. This is a powerful, tragic example of the evolutionary pressure against cannibalism. Another risk is the potential for injury. Trying to eat a member of your own species, especially an adult, can be a dangerous fight. Your prey is just as strong, smart, and well-equipped as you are. The risk of getting seriously injured or even killed in the attempt can outweigh the benefit of the meal. So let's quickly recap the terms. Cannibalism is the general term for eating one's own species. Anthropology is specific to humans. Endocannibalism is eating someone from your own group, often for ritualistic reasons. Exocannibalism is eating an outsider or enemy. We also saw sexual cannibalism, size-structured cannibalism, filial cannibalism, and even intrauterine cannibalism in the animal kingdom. The study of cannibalism, both in humans and animals, reveals so much about evolution, behavior, and culture. It forces us to look at survival, ritual, and the sometimes blurry line between what we consider civilized and what we view as taboo. While it can be a dark and disturbing subject, understanding the different forms and motivations behind it gives us a clearer picture of the complex and often ruthless realities of life on Earth. It's not always just a horror story. Sometimes it's a story of survival, ritual, or a brutal evolutionary strategy. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next one.